Cool. Let's dive in. So Eric, first of all, love the shirt. Indecisiveness is weakness. And this is a really, this is a time where I believe it's probably more important than ever to be decisive within our organizations and as leaders. I know at Chaffin Luhana, you guys, you've always been doing great things in your communities. But now, even on top of that, you've been doing more community efforts. How have you guys been adapting to essentially the coronavirus COVID-19 situation over the last few weeks?
Sure, Michael. And so first, just to back up for a second. So for Ripple and I, when we started our firm 10 years ago, we really focused on what did we want to be about? What do we want to present to the public, but then also live in our core values? And so the phrase doing good by doing right has been our motto, our guiding principle now for 10 years. And so over time, we've been like, okay, so how do we implement this in the public? And so we started a foundation pretty quickly after we started our firm. Within just the first few months, we were fortunate enough with success to be able to fund that foundation pretty well. We've done everything from fund research at the University of Michigan to do some local projects here in New York to bigger projects in Pittsburgh. And so we've been fortunate over the past year to really have a team in place that can pretty quickly set up some larger events. So we did the Interreef Challenge, for example, last fall. You guys were so supportive at the Chris Summit. We really appreciate that. But now we looked at it and said, okay, we have this public persona that we have, the social consciousness that we have, that's really our core values, but our overall vision is to have that positive impact. And that's really what we want to do. And I tell you, there's no better time in history. I can think of only one other time in history that I've been involved with that was as meaningfully anybody and everybody listening could have a positive impact. That's now, but then also after 9/11, having been a federal prosecutor then. And, just in so many different ways we can help. We can certainly help from the remoteness of our social isolation that's happening right now, our distancing that's happening right now. So in the course of last week, we organized and did a 10,000 sandwich giveaway it was first aimed at kids, but we actually opened it up and gave it to broader people because we saw the need. So we had people showing up at our location, picking up 100 sandwiches to take back to elderly people they know, dropping them off on porches. So not only did we do stuff, but we actually activated the community to work with us to give away sandwiches as well. And so we did this 10,000 sandwich drive, again, from the remoteness of my home in New York. We did it in Pittsburgh. I made one trip down to Pittsburgh, met with 3 people at a 10-foot distance, did it safely, and then we organized it all remotely. So it's worked out really well for us so far.
Love it. Love it. So I'm sure there's going to be people watching this and they're thinking, oh, that must be nice to be able to just do something like that. But here I am trying to take care of my cash flow and basically stop the bleeding in my own organization. And it's been affecting all of us, right? So I believe even during this time, it's not that you guys aren't feeling any pain. What's compelling you to, because I know that you jumped on this very early. So meaning that you took a community first focus on this, even while you guys were experiencing pain.
Look, no one's going to start from the same point. There's no doubt about that. But with that said, to suggest anyway, you're not, but we're all suffering. That's the reality. Do I have cash flow coming in right now? No. Cases are shut down. There's certain pieces of it we have to push forward. We're figuring it out, and we're going to figure it out. And certainly time is having an impact as well. So, as longer this goes on, the more of an impact it's going to have. But I'm looking at it, and my team is looking at it, say, we want to have a positive impact on our community. So we have to be in a good place ourselves. We have to be in a good place for our firms. And then, of course, for our communities is where it comes after that. And so I am really proud of the fact that we could do it really in under a week. And then from the point we said go on a Tuesday morning of last week, we were able to mobilize, get tons of small businesses involved with us, who, by the way, were suffering themselves, and do 10,000 sandwiches to the public, literally on the Monday after we had the concept on Tuesday. And so I think that part of the reason why we're able to do that, frankly, is, some of your coaching through Chris Beck's, frankly, certainly surrounding ourselves with other positive business owners, because that Chris Beck's community has been so positive for us that we've actually taken that back, and we have positivity within our firm. So we've actually grown that within our firm. So when we act with a mindset, we want to have a positive impact, we're coming at it in a positive way as well, which is so, so important. And, usually you're in nice conversations, we text each other and stuff at times, it's about health, it's about fitness, it's about physical and mental health, and being there for days like today so we can show up for our teams as leaders and show up for our communities as well. And so I just really, it's difficult. There's no doubt about it. If I had some sleepless nights, 100%. I'm happy to say my Whoop band said I slept better last night. I've slept better since I gave away 10,000 sandwiches. I feel better as a person being able to do something. I know my team does too. But it's a struggle, but still now's the time to act.
Yeah, I think that I think there's a quote. I'm gonna probably butcher it, but you're only generous when it hurts, right? That's like that's what true giving is. I guess when all this coronavirus was starting to set in, I remember you guys went remote. Like you made that decision pretty early on. I mean, you guys have multiple offices, but there was one office that went remote pretty early. I guess walk me through kind of the decision making there when this was taking place, because at the time you guys weren't a fully remote team.
Sure. Yeah. So one is we've been fortunate that we've actually looked at our firm and said we want to be paperless for all time. It just has been that way since day one. And I think the two main things to me that are so critical from our perspective as a law firm and other people who might be listening who have law firms is one is the paper is an issue and you got to figure that out. So scanning and loading things is really important. So if you're not doing that, that would be the first thing to me you got to figure out. The second thing is voice over internet provider service. So you can plug and play anywhere. I've got my phone, my work computer. I actually brought it home because we're going to be going so long. It just makes more sense to have those easy comfort things versus like a laptop, for example. And we've done that across our teams. We figured out pretty quickly in New York, we had to do it because of what's going on in New York. You can just listen to Andrew Cuomo's talk this morning about how bad things are in New York. As he said, and others have said, is we're the canary in the cave. We're the first ones going in to see what's going on. You're going to get really a look at what's going to go on around the country. And so from our perspective, not being alarmist, but we saw this coming, and so we responded. And so what we did is we moved that New York office remote with the things I just mentioned and talked about. We then moved pretty quickly within just a few days into the same thing for our Pittsburgh office, where we have a lot of people because we have a building there. And we really wanted to get everyone remote as quickly as possible because we wanted to, one, tell them they're important, but two, we're acting with a social conscience. And the only way we're going to flatten the curve in this country is to do that social distancing. And so we have to lead by example, is our view.
How's the team responded? Like just as you guys were doing all this, because I imagine for many of them, it was also new to work remotely. I've long since spoken to the fact that whatever change leaders are going through, that's also change for their teams. Like it's uncertainty for everyone.
Yeah. So, Michael, I'm smiling because, again, what you give light to grows. I really believe that. And so from our perspective, instead of looking at our team and saying, well, there's a single mom at home and questioning what they're doing or, pushing certain things, it's more acting with empathy in terms of what they may be experiencing at home, but then also create ways to connect. I think that's really important. And so, we use Slack, but we've used it on a very limited basis until now because we want all of our client work to be within the case management software system we use because that's client communications. And still it resides there, but we've opened up Slack channels to our entire team, around 40 different people across the firm. And what that's done is we now share morning quotes. People are sharing just pictures of their dogs, their kids, different things. And so now there's a much stronger connection, frankly, in a firm like ours where we have multiple offices because everyone's starting their day off with positivity and sort of high fives or recognition of one another in connective ways. And I don't care who you are in society right now, whether it's you and I, Michael, it's, my mom who's a social worker who's 67 at home by herself with no hugs or kisses from anybody for weeks, to other people who have, 5 people at home with a dad and mom and everyone pulling their hair out. No matter who you are, those connections to me are what now's about. There's a quote that I love right now, which is, you may have seen me post on Facebook at times, but it's really that quote. It says that when everything is uncertain, what is important becomes clear. And I may have just butchered that, but the concept is just really a beautiful one, I think. And so it's, for our team, I think that's what they're focused on. And simple things like Slack, if someone's not using it, highly recommend it. It's a great way to have a firm-wide announcements, have some general places to chat, and some other things that we're doing, which I know, Michael, you guys at Chris been doing for a long time. And frankly, your role model for us has been a lifesaver. So we appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. It's in full transparency and full vulnerability. As you know, like I am no less scared than anybody else. It's not that, I'm sleeping perfectly at night. We're feeling the hit as well. We've got a large team support. We've got their families, all those different things. I think the difference is just, getting up every single day and continuing to, endure and persist. And what would you say to, because there's a lot of firm owners across the nation, they're in a state of panic. They don't, the phone has stopped ringing. They don't know when it's going to start ringing again. I think in times like that, someone starts to make predictions about the future. Like whatever the current situation is, the present, it's saying the phone will never ring again, right? We've settled the last case. But what would you say to them?
So first of all, I mean, as you've heard me say before, I've heard you say too, is don't panic, right? Let's think logically about this. So if you're a TV advertiser, for example, or a billboard advertiser, or a combination of different channels, right now, yes, your cases are going to fall off. Why? It's the same reason if you create a military base in Afghanistan, you bring 5,000 people together in close proximity, there's going to be accidents. The same way, if everybody stays home, there's not going to be accidents. But what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, what do we know about human nature, which is we all long for that human connection. We're social beings. People aren't going to stay home when this lets up. I think that conferences like your guys, which I hope is going to go on, I think those things are going to become even more important to us as attorneys. But think about even the general public of, the grandmother who hasn't seen her grandkids, the loved ones who are living apart in different cities that now are going to go see each other. Those are all going to happen. And when they do, God bless, I hope they don't, but they're probably going to get into accidents. And if you're out there now with a branding message, when everyone else is off the air and they see you doing good, and for us doing good by doing right in our communities, we hope that sticks and they remember the people who are running into the fire, not away from the fire. And so that's our mentality is that we know what we're going to do, which is create a positive impact. We hope people remember it when it comes time that they do need help when they're injured again. And it will happen, and we're going to be there when it does happen to lift them up as well.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, and this is sometimes tough to say because I don't want to ever come across as insensitive, but
sure.
I do always find that things happen for us and not to us, that sometimes like these moments, years later, months later, you look back and it results in driving the kind of change in our businesses that may not have happened otherwise. We get more creative, we get more strategic, even on the marketing. I think the only mindset you can have during this time is the one that I believe works in the long term. And it's that, everything is about tomorrow, nothing is about today. Like this is like a John Morgan belief. And yet in a lot of legal advertising, so much of it previously had to all be about today that there wasn't any like long-term brand credibility built, no long-term brand equity. And quite literally now, I still believe you are selling your firm like in, how you're responding as a leader, how your firm is impacting your community, whatever you may or may not be doing. You just may have to collect on that later.
Sure. Yeah. And look, Michael, I think it's really important. I think there are some firms, and we won't name names, that it's going to be hard for them to be authentic in terms of their approach, in which case the public's going to see right through that. I think people are very smart. We all do jury work who are trial lawyers. We know that a jury, if we stand up and we try to fake it, it's not going to work. And so, one of the things we really respect and why we started working with CRISP now for going on, I think, a couple of years now, one of the reasons is because you guys get storytelling. You understand that it's not just a 30-second commercial. I've stood on top of 18-wheelers and I've been the big truck lawyer and I've done those things. Those are nice, but they only work as long as that's on the air. There's a little bit of a hangover from that, but not like it is now with this branding and storytelling, which is really so important. And so we're going back to that. We have some public service stuff that we're putting out. We're changing our messaging. I posted on Instagram yesterday a sort of a sound stage I built out of a blanket, like an 8-year-old in a tent to do some voiceover recordings for a commercial, because we want to have that authentic selves out there to make sure we're getting our message out there. And the tone has to be right. It has to be, open-handed, as you would say. I've heard you say to others, and that's really important. And that's something I think just for us, being part of that CRISP group. And I keep plugging you guys just because I really believe in it. You haven't asked me to, obviously, but I think it's really important because it's something that, having people who understand that versus I've talked to some media buyers and others who frankly don't understand that. If I have them review my commercials versus the people that I have a lot of respect for that understand these times, it's completely different what their feedback is to me. And so surround yourself with people I think that you trust in terms of their judgment. Some of those are your immediate family, your team, and certainly don't sit back and say, I'm going to huddle and keep as much to myself as possible. But if you give right now, how that can come back to you in the future. And we've seen that happen in the past, and that's what we're doing.
Which I think is a wonderful thing. And let me ask you on the other side of this, you're someone who's obviously very, very active, very physically active, take health and wellness quite seriously. And, if there was ever a time to manage one's health, this is probably now. But talk to me about some of the things you've been doing and, how you believe it may or may not impact how we perform, day in and day out in these moments.
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, everything's relative, right? So what I'm about to say is people will look at, well, he's on that level, so I'm not going to listen to what he's going to say after that. But the reality is we're all on different levels. And I started in 2015, I got a Peloton bike. And then finally in 2016, I really got focused on it for a variety of personal reasons to me. But what started me on that journey was really meditation. And so I really am a very firm believer in, one is the mental health part of what we're in today, but every day, frankly, in the stressful work that we do as attorneys. And then secondly, is the physical part of it. And I think the two together are so powerful. I know you believe that, Michael. We talk a lot about it. But, I was ready to do on April 25th a full Ironman, which is 140.6 miles, a swim, bike, and run of that distance. And, the biggest thing now I've done is I spent 14 hours in the car sitting my butt on Sunday, right? I mean, the world has changed in terms of what I'm able to do because that event was canceled. I'm not sure when it's going to happen again. But, am I sitting back and licking my wounds and saying, well, gee, I'm not going to work out now? No, I'm sticking to my routine. And, I've even helped and worked with my team now to work on their routines in terms of what they're doing. So I do 3 basic things. I do 20-minute meditation twice a day. That's my time. It's non-negotiable. The second thing is I do the 5-minute journal, which I first learned about from Chris Beck's. Great app, very simple. It has morning gratitude. It also has, what I'm going to do to make the day great, and some positive affirmations, which we all need daily. If you're not getting them from somebody else, give them to yourself. And if you don't give them to yourself, no one else will, frankly. So that's the second part. And the third part is movement. And that's where I'm a little crazy because honestly, my workouts are anywhere from an hour, hour and a half to 5 hours a day, depending on what time I can make for myself. And my former world champion triathlete coach gives to me. And I like to push myself physically. And so, it's all different levels. We've got our Peloton, group that we do for Chris Beck's. A lot of good people doing different things on different levels. Everything from running with your dog to doing some tread workouts to bike workouts to doing walks. I mean, just a variety of things. And so now's the time that we all have that free time, that commute that's been canceled. If you're in New York, it's 45 minutes to an hour. It's newfound time, and take some of that for yourself.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, even with like Peloton, although we're not sponsored by Peloton, although at this point we probably should be, that has been absolutely transformational. I think because of the community associated with it, that's a big driver of it. And for anyone listening, you don't even need to have the bike right now. I think they're doing like 60 days free, and they've got all the classes in the app, and you can do yoga and meditation and stretching, and you don't even need to have a Peloton bike to do the bike classes. So I mean, they've literally made it free to do.
Great.
So,
yeah, it's a full 90 days, and it's probably a week or two into it now. But also for your teams, I've pushed it out to my teams. There's some people now doing the meditations and yoga classes that hadn't done stuff before. And so, even for your team, if you want something simple that's doesn't cost anything, you can push out. That's definitely one of the things for them. Yeah.
Well, I can't understate the importance of like disciplining oneself, especially during this time, because our environments have changed. I mean, it's very, very different. We get used to our routines, I feel, when, we're coming into the office and then we're going to the gym or whatever it might be. And then when instead of sitting at a desk, you're sitting on a couch and then the gym is closed, it's just very easy to like let go of the great habits that we've built. So especially at a time like now where you mentioned Whoop, they did a study recently and they like looked at all Whoop users and showed that strain and stress was at an all-time high, and not because everybody was exercising like crazy, but because like we as a country and probably as a world are really stressed out right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of, people worried about their teams, their families. They become teachers in some cases where, they have kids at home. So I think all of that compounded makes, really taking care of oneself more important than ever.
Yeah, it really does. And, the Whoop band, which I know you introduced me to, it's something that I've really grown to like. And you and I've had conversations about that. Even, when we speak at these public events, we're doing a jury trial. Do we see a drain on ourselves? And of course, we all do to some degree. But now, not only are we doing it individually at different points, but as a society, we're seeing this drain. And so even scientists talking about, the mental health toll on all of this. And so it's so important for us to take care of ourselves. And only if you take care of yourself, you can be able to take care of others, obviously, which is what really we do as lawyers every day. And so it's just, it's critically important, as you say.
Awesome. Well, Eric, this is a segment obviously on leading through adversity. To close out, what would be something you would say to law firm owners that are watching this right now, and perhaps, like all of us are probably concerned about the future, but what would you leave them with?
Yeah, I think that the main thing is don't panic. Be flexible in what you're doing, both with your team as well as with your marketing efforts, how you brand your firm, and be authentic out there. I have a lot of confidence in trial lawyers that we're all really good people. And unfortunately, we don't always have the opportunity to change that public perception. And now we do.
Yeah. Awesome. Eric, thank you, sir.
Appreciate your time as always, Michael.